Hey everyone, Chris Parker here. Welcome to the Leader Matters podcast. What's the first of what will be 100 lessons in leadership from Parker Resources. Joined on this episode by our friend Chris Wallace, principal at Pickens High School. He's going to help us guide us through these first couple episodes. And thanks for joining me, Chris.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, so what we're going to do is basically take 100 different topics and evolve it into leadership lessons for anybody that's a leader. What I did was when I quit coaching and I started being the AD and then I started being the HR director, and it evolved into writing a book and all this. And people said, that book was pretty good for coaches. I wrote a book called Lessons in Coaching. And they're like, that's really good for anybody. And so it evolved into this, this project of coming up with 100 different lessons that would be good for anybody, whether they're leading a small group or a large group, whether in education as a principal or an athletic director or a coach, or whether they're in the business world, just things that are going to help you. If you're trying to be a leader, hopefully these things will help you. And so the first episode is that everybody wants to be the leader. My daughter, they want to be the leader, the line leader, in school and when they were little, and then they want to be the class president, or everybody wants to be the leader. Everybody wants to be in charge. If you got a job, you want to be, you want to be the boss. Everybody wants to be in charge. They want to be the head coach. They want to be a starting quarterback. They want to be whatever, the principal, until they actually have to do it, of course, when we get into that. But everybody wants to be a leader. First thing we'll talk about, until they have to have a hard conversation. You know anything about that, Chris?
Yeah, absolutely. If you're in it for more than 5 minutes, you're probably going to have a difficult conversation or a crucial conversation, as we like to call it sometimes. And, it's not something you look forward to, but it's part of it. And I think you just have to, take what's delivered to you as the problem or what needs to be addressed, and figure out the best way to go about it. There's no manual or whatever to walk you through it, but there are some things you can do, of course, to help make it go better. And I just think right off, it's just presentation, and how you approach it. That has a big part of it, to me, of the success of the conversation. We've all had times we needed to, be addressed in whatever way to, hey, we'd like to see this done differently, or we'd like to see challenge you to work in this area or do whatever. If you're being honest with yourself and you have honest leaders, then people are going to want to be honest with you and have those conversations from time to time, or you're having to fix an issue, of course, which is what more than not times that we're often dealing with. So yeah. I think that's what you were getting at.
Yeah, and the thought on this is everybody wants to be in charge. I think we can attest to this because, both of us are in charge of something and have been, and both of us weren't at some point in our life. And so you think to yourself, okay, well, I want to be the leader. I deserve it. I'm as good as him or her or whoever. And then you get to be the leader and they're like, oh, well, you got to tell so-and-so that something they don't want to hear. Like, oh, well, that's no fun. I didn't know it involved that.
No, that's right. That's right. That's right. And like I say, you're going to have to do it.
Yeah, you're going to have to, though. This is what we're trying to teach you, though. Everybody, this is obviously an introduction. This is episode 1. This is an introduction. But everybody wants to be the leader until they have to do these things. Everybody wants to be the leader until they have to make a difficult decision. Because here's the thing, guys. A lot of people that aren't leaders don't understand this, that most of the decisions you make on a daily basis as a leader are not black and white decisions. They're not what I'd call 100 and 0 decisions, meaning 100% of you do not believe this is the right thing to do. You go with the decision a lot of times that 55 or 60% of you thinks is the right thing to do. Can you attest to that?
Yeah, absolutely. So you have to make a decision based on information that is in front of you at the given time. And that's what's tough, because we all can be the armchair quarterback and look back or whatever. And you got those people that are going to, be on both sides so that they can be right at least half the time and all that. And you're going to be criticized, but you can't be afraid. And I think that's what holds people back, is just being afraid of going out there and putting yourself out there. And the only way to not be wrong, ever be wrong as a leader, is to never make a decision. And that's not an option. You will never be successful if you don't make a decision.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Everybody wants to be the leader until they have to be held accountable as the leader. As a principal, principals get held accountable for test scores and performance and morale and things like that. And it's not always the principal's fault, but you get held accountable for it, right? Same if you're in business, you get held accountable for profits. And, as a coach, we got held accountable for winning, and sometimes the other team just have better players, but we still get held accountable for winning. So everybody wants to be the leader until they got to stand there and talk about how they're accountable. And it may not even be all their fault, right?
No, 100%. And I think that comes down to being honest with yourself. To me, I like to say I'm my toughest critic. And if someone's going to want to hold me accountable, it's something I probably already challenged myself with in a lot of cases. So, hold yourself accountable first and then find an accountability partner, and maybe somebody even outside your district or somebody that's going to help make you better. But even within your district, just, surround yourself with good people that want to see you achieve, but also want to see you get better and help make them better as a result. And, you should want to be held accountable. That's part of it. And that's part of where the pressure comes from. When I see leaders that aren't under any pressure or feel any stress, I get a little concerned, because you should always feel the pressure to want to be better and try to make your team better, whatever team you're leading.
Absolutely. This is the other one I put. Everybody wants to be a leader until they realize other people's actions affect them. And here's what I mean by that. I always thought one of the hardest things about being a leader is you're at home minding your own business, and one of your people is out doing something stupid, and it's going to affect your whole day. It's going to change your ability to lead. It's going to make it harder for you to be successful. And you were just at home watching TV. You didn't do anything wrong. And, being the leader is tough, and everybody wants to be the leader until they realize that, there's things that other people do that you had nothing to do with that are going to affect your ability to lead.
100%. And I think that you have to understand and realize that not everyone acts and addresses issues and concerns and deals with things the same way you do. I struggle with that sometimes. Not everybody thinks like I do. Not everybody responds the way that I do. It doesn't mean I'm perfect. I don't get it right all the time, but you have to realize that. And you're the whole cliche of, the chain's only as strong as the weakest link. You got to make sure you got a good quality team. And when you get the opportunity to put those quality people on there, it's got to be people that are not going to embarrass you, or you at least hope they're not. And I mean, things happen and people make poor choices. Good people make poor choices every day. We see that with students. We see that with adults in society. So you try to, hold the high expectations for your staff, for your people, and expect them to act in a certain way, especially in our role as principal here with kids, and setting that example and being the role model. That's huge. But yeah, you have to understand that things are going to happen, and then you address them when they do. The worst thing you can do is ignore it and act like it doesn't happen. And then the next thing you know, then there you are again, and people don't have any reason to believe they can't act how they want to. You have to hold them accountable when they do act inappropriate or don't live up to the standard that you've set. But that comes a lot with setting the culture from the leadership top down in your organization too.
Yeah, that's exactly right. The truth is, Chris, that everybody wants to be the leader on payday. You know what I'm saying? That usually get paid a little bit more to be the leader. So everybody wants to be the leader on payday, but everybody wants to be the leader until they have to actually lead. And then you see some people start separating from who's successful at this to who's not. And that's what I'm trying to do, is develop this 100 lessons that people can listen to and watch and give themselves a chance to be on that good group, because this is something you can learn. This is a developed trait, and this is what I've learned in my career, is that the leaders matters. It doesn't matter what kind of leader it is. It could be a youth team. It could be somebody at the local gym. It could be the CEO of a major company. That the person in charge of that organization is what's really going to set the success or failure of that organization. This is a time when organizations, groups, teams, there's probably more people doing good things. And by good, I mean they're organized, they're disciplined, they're hardworking, they're all that stuff. But what separates them? What separates them when they're competing, whether it's a business or in teams that are competing for wins, it's a lot of times the leadership. And we work in education, and Lord knows in education, we come up with acronyms and phrases and magic programs that are supposed to teach curriculum better or whatever it is. And the reality is, if the teacher is a great teacher, they're going to teach them well. And if they're not, they're not. And the same could be said about the principal or the superintendent or the HR director or the coach, or then you get into business world and you're talking about the same type of things in the business world. So for anybody that's a leader, if you are looking for that magic bullet, that magic program that's going to make your organization better, and people spend, Chris can attest this, people spend tons of money on this, looking for these magic programs. The best magic program is to be a better leader. So I hope if you listen to this, and obviously you're the smart one and you care about being a better leader, but keep in mind, being a better leader is something you can do. You're not born being a great leader. You develop those traits on what you can do, what you can't do. You learn, you reflect, you move on. And what we'll try to do over these next 100 episodes is talk about how to be a better leader and make that be your magic program. It's not going to, coming up with a new acronym is only going to work if the person doing it is a good leader, right?
100%. Absolutely. And I think that it just starts with commitment. You got to make sure that you are ready and willing and able to be a servant. And if you're not, then leadership is probably not for you, because it's not about the prestige. It's not about the paycheck. It's not about the notoriety. It's about you committing yourself and giving all of yourself to your organization and the people that you serve. And in our case, it's kids, it's all stakeholders, especially our staff and kids here. But at any level, it's your stakeholders, your invested people into your organization.
Absolutely. So we're going to do 99 more of these. We're going to be more specific than that was probably. Try to really delve into how you can be better. So we're going to talk about one of the lessons, showing people you care. Well, how can we show people you care? Talk about, try not to act like you know everything. How do you do that? There's all these different lessons that are going to come out of this, and we'll try to talk about how we can do those things, give you some practical things you can use. If you're not familiar with Parker Resources, we got many different things, including this podcast, 3 podcasts, 5 books, something on social media all the time. If we're interested in any kind of leadership, hopefully we can help you out. So we'll see you in the next time. Chris, thanks for joining me.
As always, my pleasure. Thank you, sir.